everyone, welcome back to the YouTube channel. If you're looking for a framework to build a D&D town for your game, you're in the right place. I'm going to go over the framework I use to build my D&D towns in my game, kind of as fast as possible. I feel like there's a lot of advice out there about like the theoretical ideas of like what is a town in D&D, why is it important, how should you use it. I think you can go, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I'd really recommend Matt Colville's videos on towns, they're really good. But I'm here giving you like, here's a to-do list, right? Because I know for me, when I'm building a town in my D&D game, I'm like, oh, what do I need to make? I kind of want like some guidelines. And you and I was starting, I was like, well, what do I need? What's the important details here? And so what I'm going for here is I'm just going to go with like, here are the things you need. You're going to need about 5 locations, 1 or 2 NPCs, and a problem. The problem is going to be something that is happening in your town. The problem in my town is that the mayor's son is a werewolf. I haven't actually come up with yet how he ended up a werewolf. I feel like that's a longer quest. That's more of a quest than a problem. Maybe there's a werewolf town, but the problem is just a little problem that the player should be able to fix in maybe an hour of playtime. It really shouldn't be a long-standing thing. It's just something to give the town dynamics, you know? Different people in the town will have different opinions on it, and as you'll see as we go through the locations and the NPCs, you'll see different NPCs have different stances on it and different issues with it. Some of them don't care, some of them are like, wow, this is super important, we need to deal with this. Some are pretending it's not an issue. We're going to kind of see that range of characters across this town. So, the locations. Now, my personal favourite location, this is one I've used this particular tavern a couple of times in my different games. If I've got any previous players in, you'll recognize this one. This is the Tiefling's Horns. Its bartender is Gwen Belvin, and she has a pair of cow's horns that she's painted black and like purple and gold dusted. And she claims they are the horns of a tiefling, and she blows them to signify to the farmers and the travelers that its dinner is being served in the tavern. And I just think that she's a super cool character because like that story about being called the tiefling horn and having a horn, I just feel like it's a funny little encounter. Surprisingly, none of my players have yet questioned the horns. They've just accepted that they're tiefling horns. She knows the problem in the town. She knows that she knows that their sheep are going missing. She knows that something's to do with it, and she will, if she gets to know the players, if she likes the players, if they're nice to her, she will encourage them to look into the issue, maybe suggest that they go and follow the sheep one night and see if they can see who's kidnapping them or what's happening to the sheep. The second location you've got here is Mad Morris's trading shop. Mad Morris is kind of an old, slightly cranky guy, but he keeps a lot of different stuff in this trading store. He's very proud of how much he keeps and how good his connections are. So if the players come in and he's grumpy to them and they're grumpy back, he'll get more grumpy. If the players come in and admire his stuff, any of it, if one of the players tries to barter with Mad Morris by being like, you should give us cheaper stuff out of the goodness of your heart, he'll be like, no, pay the full price. But if they go in and go, wow, how did you collect all of these things? This is so cool. He's going to be like on that. He loves that. He's a big attention seeker. He likes the kind of, he likes people being like paying attention to his things. So he will 100% like, if the players are nice to him about his stuff, he'll give them a discount. And finally, we've got the town hall. This is like the center of town for the security. So where the guards are housed, this is where the magistrate is. And I like having a town hall or something like that. This isn't so I do in every town, but I like having a center for the guards to be at, whether that's be a guard house, whether that's a town hall. That might just be the market square. But I like a place for the guards to be able to take the players to and for them to take them to a higher authority. So if the players have an altercation, they can go plead their case to a higher authority. So in this case, we've got 2 guards here. So the first person we've got here is the guard, Tall Owen. He is tall, lanky. He's probably still got acne on his face. He's only been working as a guard for a few weeks. If he has to arrest the players, he's going to be super embarrassed. He's never had to arrest an adventurer before. He's worried he might get beaten up. He's kind of doing this as a pocket job. He probably, as my voice broke there, I was just clearly getting into character. He's definitely the kind of guy who'd be like, oh, hello, I'm Tall Owen. And then his compatriot, Old Paul. Again, speaks for himself. I think he's the classic cop duo kind of thing, the new guy and the old Paul has seen it all. He's seen adventurers in his town before, and he doesn't think much of them. These adventurers, disrespectful. And finally, we've got Henry from the city Morris. He has been put in charge of the town by the local noble, because the local noble, he's rich. He doesn't want to spend his time dealing with the peasants arguing over chickens and whose pig was whose. And so he pays a guy. Henry is well liked by the townsfolk. He's good at his job. He's fair, and he is also intrigued in what is happening to the sheep. This is a big deal because he's hearing a lot about it at the moment. The shepherds are pretty mad, and so to him, it's a big deal. If you want to push the players to deal with the problem really actively, if you want to make it an active thing instead of a more passive thing, he can offer a small gold reward. I reckon if the players came to him and like, hey, we've heard this thing, is there any reward? He'd probably make a quick adjustment and give a reward based on that. Now we've got 2 other locations here. We've already had our kind of 3 key locations. You definitely need a tavern realistically at a town, some of the players to go. You need a shop, they're going to want to buy things. I like to give them the option to buy things. I don't really like having to travel multiple sessions to buy stuff, that's just annoying. And we need a centre for the guards. So now we've got kind of 2 locations of fun stuff. So the first one I have is a farmer's market. So this is where the farmers come once or twice a week. I normally just have it that it's the day the players come that there's the farmer's market because it's more interesting. So at the farmer's market, there's a couple different characters there. The important one being Ian Palin, who is a shepherd, and he is mega salty his sheep are going missing. He's very unhappy about this. He's being very vocal. He's trying to get anyone who will listen to sign a petition to the local noble, to get the sheep looked at, because he's like, he's not a happy bunny about the fact that like the sheep are going missing, as you can imagine as a shepherd. And there's a couple other farmers there. One of the ones I've written down is Taryn David. Now this town doesn't have a blacksmith, but she is a kind of self-taught blacksmith. She mostly does horseshoeing, but she's been dabbling in weaponry, and she's incredibly modest. She's like, oh no, I'm not that good. I'm still learning. Big imposter syndrome vibes, you know? But she's actually very good. If the players give her time, she can make them. She has her best creation so far. She's managed to make a +1 shield. And if you're using the kind of strongholder rule, the strongholds and followers rules by Matt Kohler, she is definitely a possible follower later on, someone who can join the party as a kind of background NPC and do blacksmithing work for them and improve their weapons. And finally, the last location we need is obviously the noble's son, the heir to this town, has been turned into a werewolf, so we need his house. We've got his dad. His dad is in denial. He is confident his son has nothing to do with this. Even when he's seen him sneaking out of the house the night the sheep have gone missing, his son has nothing to do with it. His son is clearly a starstruck lover and is going to flirt with a girl in town. That's his father's theory. His son is not a very good liar, but he won't reveal the truth. You know, he's not going to be the best liar in the world. He's not a trained liar or something like that. So he will just try his best. But realistically, if the players get this far, they go to the noble's house, they've already got a pretty good idea. And their names are Childs and Hugo Ramsey. I know this was a pretty short video, but I hope that framework helped you. I know when I was starting out, having just an example of a town, I'd say if you're ever making your own town for your game, just follow this formula. Just come up with a problem, 3 default locations, 2 bonus locations, and some NPCs for all of them, and very quickly you've kind of got a populated town. The only thing I recommend doing that I haven't done here that I sometimes do is, and I might do this later, I might make a video about this later, I will occasionally write NPCs with no knowledge of where they're going to be put into the town. So I might come up with all these NPCs for this town, and then some of them might not get used. You know, the players might never go to Mad Morris's shop before they move on to the next town, so I just move that across. You can do all of that kind of stuff, and so I hope this video was useful.